Okay, so this morning we have Miss Levy with us, and she is going to do discipline with you.
So, I guess when we talk about discipline, and I'm obviously in a weird, I have like a double meaning, right, for discipline. One meaning is the discipline that I do with students as a result of maybe things that you shouldn't have done. So that's not what we're talking about today, obviously. We're talking about discipline as in the personal characteristics that you might have to create good habits, right? So I wrote down a couple of things that maybe discipline means to me, because I actually don't even think I like that word. It feels very rigid and, I don't know, like too serious in a way. And I always say that because I think discipline or consistency or creating habits or routines are really more about not changing who you are, but like defining who you are. So, if you say that you're going to do something and you want to have discipline to do that, that is just creating a habit, and that helps you become who you are. So you are what you do, right? And you are what you do consistently. So for example, one of the things that I am disciplined about, or I create in my own routine in my personal life, is my fitness routine, right? So every morning, ready for this, I get up at 3:45 in the morning so that I can make it to I know, it's crazy. It feels crazy every day too, like that. It does not get any better, but I know that if I want to pretend I'm a runner, right? If I say that I'm a runner, then I have to run, right? And I have to do those things. And that's kind of one of the simple things in life that, if you say you're going to call yourself something, that you want to do something, whether it's your job, I want to be in education, I want to be an educator, then I have to do something toward that every single day, right? In order to make myself that person. And maintaining that consistency is one of those things that helps you become that person or that thing. If I'm an educator, I have to do something to make myself a good educator every day. What did I do today to make myself a runner? What did I do today to make myself a good educator? What did I do today to make myself a good student? What did I do today to make myself ready for whatever career, right, is this career that I want to do? So those kind of habits and routines just end up becoming what you do on an everyday basis. So that's kind of how I see discipline kind of taking over the words of routine and habit and consistency. Those things sound better to me. They make me feel like I'm doing something positive. They have a positive connotation to that word.
So how did you use discipline to get where you are?
That's a good question. How did I use discipline to get where I am? Well, I think that little known fact, or maybe not so little known fact about those of us in education, there's a lot of schooling that we have to go through, and it's not really over once you get your first job. So you can come into education with a bachelor's degree, but if you want to make a decent salary, you have to have a master's degree. And if you think that you have something else that you want to do on top of that, there's always continuing education going on. So your teachers are always going to school. It really never stops. That's kind of the cool thing about education, is that we live it all the time. When you go into a career field, you will do that too. You will constantly live that career field and continue your education, because hopefully career fields are never changing or always changing. Okay, so for example, 20 years ago when your parents went to school, maybe we sat in front of a teacher who wrote a bunch of notes on the board all the time. We don't do that anymore, right? So if we want to learn new things, and as the career field changes and we find out that students work better when certain students learn better when they're working together in groups, when they've got differentiated instruction so that it's designed for them. We have to learn how to do those things because we didn't go to school during a time when those things were cool. So now the discipline part of that is one degree after another, I mean, we're talking 21 years of degrees in school. And that is, I've had to pursue that with discipline for 21 years. It's a long time, even after my first degree, right? So I feel very disciplined about that because I know what to do. I know at this point I've got my routine. Every time I have to take a class or something, I go about it all the time. So, yeah. What else?
What questions do you guys have? That was part of your journal question today, so what questions do you guys have?
Yeah.
Like, how often do you use discipline? And like, how much does it affect your daily life?
Well, I mean, I guess in my personal life, I use it every day because every day I have to get out of bed at 3:45 in the morning. And that's hard every single day. I'm not gonna lie. It really is rarely easy. And so doing that every single day when it's hard, maybe that's on the discipline side of things too, that it's not always gonna be easy. That routine and that consistency that you're trying to create isn't always easy, but you have to do it every day because you know that the buildup of all of those things together is what makes you into whatever you're trying to be. Yeah.
Say you had a bad day, like what would that do to you, like the next day? Would you just like restart like how you normally would and just try to like start off new, or would you try to fix what you did yesterday?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. I think sometimes I'm pretty good about like rolling through stuff. Like there is no such thing as a bad day, and maybe when I should give myself a little bit of a, okay, you're gonna step down, I don't, because I feel like there's always a reason to do that. I can always create an excuse for why, for example, I'm not gonna get out of bed. There's literally always a reason. I was out late, I got to bed late, I woke up at 2 in the morning and then fell right back asleep before my alarm, and so I feel like crap when I wake up. There's always a reason for that. And so if you can just say, nope, there's not a reason, that's not a reason, I can do it anyway, that becomes who you are. It actually does become what you do. Yeah?
How does discipline apply to your job?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Overall, my career, right? Like, my day is so different every single. You people are fantastic. You bring me something new to do every single day. Literally. It's been wonderful. And so, I think that part of what I want to do, which is working with teachers about instruction, right? I have to be disciplined about that because I could get up in y'all's drama every day. And if I can focus on the instruction and the teacher part, then we get it from a different angle. I get to work with you in the classroom instead, which is so much what I'd rather be doing, just so y'all know. Yes?
How are you reliable in your job?
Well, that's a good question. I think that part of being reliable in your job is doing the things that you say you're gonna do. And sometimes that's harder than it sounds. So if I say, for example, I'm gonna show up today, first period, and I forgot, here I am. And I'm doing it. And if I say that I'm gonna be at lunch duty, whenever I humanly can, when I don't have someone in my office or I'm not immediately engaged with something outside of lunch, I show up. Is lunch duty my favorite? No, it's not. But I do it. I love watching you guys eat. It's sarcasm. What else? Yes?
Would you say any past jobs have led up to the discipline you have now?
Yeah, every one of them, I guess. I think that when you are trying to build a career, your reputation follows you. And so if you are crappy at one job, you're gonna have a hard time getting the next best job. And so keeping that discipline from your kind of low man on the totem pole job to your, dream job is really what discipline is all about. It's consistency. It's keeping those habits formed so that by the time you're where you want to be, it's just who you are. Yes, sir.
What do you end up doing if you say you're gonna do something and you don't do it?
Apologize. You gotta face that head on. And that's happened before. Sometimes I've said I'm gonna do something. I am a full human. I make mistakes. I don't always do the right thing. I sometimes say I'm gonna do something and I don't do it, and so I gotta own that. And that part of being a human doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you have to recover from that mistake, right? And then do the next right thing. So if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna be there for somebody, and I'm not there, maybe I had a reason or not. Sometimes that person doesn't care what my reason was. I can provide them with a reason, but then I make up for it. I'll be there the next time, and then I have to do it. What's up, Leland?
What job would you say you had that took the most discipline?
I think probably being a teacher requires the most discipline because you have to keep that classroom moving all on your own. So with the help of your students, obviously, but there is a never-ending cycle of put the work in front of the students, grade the work. Put the work in front of the students, grade the work. So that routine is intense, and that probably has been the most disciplined. Yes?
How does you using discipline affect others, or others not using discipline affect you?
Well, I think that kind of what we were just talking about with even relationships with my colleagues, that is impacted by everybody's use of discipline. So for example, the routine that you guys have of putting cell phones in the cell phone pocket, right? Let's say Mrs. Potter didn't do that. If she was inconsistent or undisciplined about having her students put cell phones in the pocket, then I would have to become disciplined with reminding her. And that might impact our relationship, right? Where she was undisciplined, I was on the other side having to remind her about that. And then we don't get to hang out and be friends as much because that becomes our relationship, right? That I have to remind her to be consistent. But sounds like she's got that down, so that's why we're good. Yes?
How do you motivate yourself every day?
I think in a non-crazy kind of way, there's probably a lot of self-talk going on up there. You have things that you remind yourself and you tell yourself, and in maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. I mean, you can call me crazy. That's fine. But in a non-crazy way, I think I do a lot of talking to myself. There's positivity going on up there for real because, again, just sticking to what I know is and believe is the right thing to do helps make me the person that I am, whether you like me or not. Yes.
How do you use work ethic for your job?
Well, like I said, you are very interesting people, and so it got me on my toes. I am working very hard right now to meet you where you are, and that is requiring a lot of work ethic for me. Yes. Josie.
Has anyone in your life set a good example of discipline for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've had a lot of good role models in my life. My parents being two of the most disciplined humans that I've ever met in my life, quite honestly. And I'm lucky to say that and lucky to have had them in my life, and that's where I learned, that's why I am who I am. Yeah.
What is one ritual that you stuck to that you think got you to where you are today?
I think that putting these two things together, one of the things that my dad always said to me was to do the hardest thing first. And I think that became something that really stuck with me, helps me. I didn't know, but he said it to my son too a couple of years ago, and he said it to me, and I was like, oh, you're right, Papa did used to say that. And those little things are really probably